Well, it has been a fast and furious start to the race weekend, with qualifying now in the bag. We look forward to race one of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine as we now take a trip around the Red Bull Ring here in the heart of the Styrian Mountains. 4.326 kilometers in length, equaling 2.688 miles, 10 turns to take us through this circuit across 30 minutes plus one lap to open up our race account for the weekend. And temperatures have taken a slight incline since qualifying this morning, with 19-degree air temperature, 17-degree on the track, and 53% humidity that has taken a sharp decline since first thing this morning. And plenty of spectators watching on as we look to get set for a phenomenal race. We can't wait. And on pole position for only the second time this season, it will be Matteo De Paolo and Trident back again. Akshay Bora, though, will join him on the front row, fresh off the back of a breakthrough round at Imola for RHGP. Pedro Cliro, who looked quick in qualifying, just narrowly missing out on pole. He'll start in third ahead of Enzo Dellini, now looking to carry on his best form from Imola also. Nikita Bedrin for Santalok Racing returning again into fifth. Hiyu Yamakoshi, also part of Van Amersfoort Racing, marking two Van Amersfoorts inside the top six. Rashid Al-Dahiri, the Mercedes driver from Prema Racing, starts seventh alongside Ian Eichmans for RPM in eighth place. Edu Robinson for G4, a cracking qualifying for the young rookie in ninth, with fellow rookie coming in for the first time this weekend, Reno Francot, starting P10 for RPM. Evan Gilter looking for an upturn in his fortune, starting 11th, alongside fellow teammate Taito Kato in P12. Further down, Ruiki Liu from Trident starts 13th, ahead of CL Motorsport's very own Michael Belov, who has been part of this championship for a very long time. Nandavid Biram Bhakti, also from the Trident camp, starting in 15th, ahead of Dion Gouda, who will start alongside him in 16th place, the top rookie in the championship so far. Inia Frey, in his first weekend for CL Motorsport, starts 17th place and will be joined by Freddie Slater, top of the championship and looking for a big performance here in order to circumvent qualifying. Alex Powell in his first start, starting 19th. Great to see him, the wild card here for this weekend. Giovanni Maschio in 20th for RPM. Jack Beaton, the man from the Gold Coast, are going to find something special, starts 21st as well. Zen Ruichi in 22nd, ahead of Kanato Lei, and Tim Gerhardt, who was fastest in free practice 2 earlier on in the weekend, ahead of Sakia Almau-Shari in 25th. Yaroslav Vasalo starting in 26th place. Edward Borgner in 27th, with Jin Nakamura, after a problem in qualifying, meant that he now starts from the back of the grid. Well, I tell you what, folks, we're going to be in for a sensational race. My name is, of course, George Morgan, your commentator, to take you through this weekend, and we're going to be in for a real treat. De Paolo and Bora matching on the front row, and whilst, of course, it wasn't victory at all last time out for Matteo De Paolo, there were still some big points nestled in from the young Italian, and much to the delight of Luca, of course, the team boss at Trident, of course, looking to invest yet more points into Trident's account. Of course, Matteo De Paolo could yet lift aloft their first championship come the end of the season, but we still have 3 rounds left to go after Red Bull Ring, with of course a trip to Barcelona laying in wait, and also Hockenheimring for the penultimate round of the championship, and Monza, the Pièce de la Résistance, of course home circuit of this series. The Temple of Speed will of course ignite our drivers once again in the pursuit of the title, and it could go all the way. And a big chance here for Matteo De Paolo to obviously take the championship lead back. Of course, Freddie Slater, after that really difficult qualifying session this morning, he is going to be left with an almighty climb from P18 in order to rescue his race. And obviously, at best, probably looking at a P10, maybe just inside that bottom 10 if he's going to be looking for points. But definitely don't count him out. Anything can surely happen. And at one of the shortest track you're going to see on the calendar as well, that being Red Bull Ring. It offers plenty of opportunities for overtaking as well. Turn 3, of course, most notably. Also, not forgetting the run down towards Sloshgold at turn 4, and which leads then through towards the Roche and Berth curves, as you can now see the trickle of cars. They're making their way through on the formation lap, just trying to get the tyres up to temperature. These Pirelli tyres that they've been utilising. Obviously, big changes now set to occur in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine for next season. As you all know, it will officially be known as the FIA Formula Regional European Championship, with a new car set to debut next season. Very exciting times for the Acci Sport Championship. And surely we'll see many great races ahead as well. But here at Red Bull Ring, we're going to be looking to kick off the first race of the weekend. Of course, another race to come tomorrow. Remember, Group B will be heading out first in order to give Group A a chance at what we would obviously state as the optimal condition, should it remain dry like we expect it to be. Of course, the only rainfall we have had during the course of the race weekend was indeed yesterday evening, hence why the humidity was very high first thing. But the big question is, who is going to take first blood here today? 30 minutes plus 1 lap. Matteo De Parlo chasing a third race win of the season. Was, of course, a victor back at Budapest. He was also a winner back at Misano in the very first race of the season, bringing together Trident's first ever win in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And numbers that I'm sure Matteo De Parlo will look to increase. Freddie Slater, 5 race wins in his pocket in his Formula Regional European Championship campaign, the highest win count recorded in this season's grid rostrum. They're currently level with the likes of Alessandro Giusti, Martini Stenshorn, as well as Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Hadrian David as well, or Hadrian David, I should say. But Matteo De Parlo with a win today could yet equal the win count set in place by Gabriele Mini and Tim Tramnitz, who of course won in FIA Formula 3 earlier on this morning, which of course is taking place over at Monza. As now all the cars line up and the marshal waves the green flag behind the scenes. Here at the Red Bull Ring, the lights now glowing red. As now all 5 lights are lit and they put pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Great start from Matteo De Parlo. Actually, Bora not getting a great jump at all. Now being challenged by Pedro Clero straight away as they come through towards turn 1. Near enough side by side as they come through Niki Lauda curve. But a wide moment there for Clero. Opening the door now for Nikita Bedrin to now leap up through the order, maybe even potentially stick himself inside the top 3. It is currently De Parlo, further back Bora, side by side now between Clero and Bedrin as they now fly up through towards the apex of the corner at turn 3. Favourable inside line, tiger line here for Bedrin as he looks to try and slot himself into third. Oh my goodness, big crash, further back a multi-car collection. Further back a few cars scuttling off wide as well. I can't quite see who that was part of. Definitely a Trident there somewhere as now they swarm down through towards Slosh Gold inside line as well. Clero losing yet another place as now Enzo Tellini looks to position himself into 4th now. But already on the opening lap we've had carnage and Giovanni Maschio sandwiched between 2 CL Motorsport cars and trying to also back into one of them as well. That's a really poor start for all 3 concerned. And we definitely did see a Trident further back as well. They got caught up in all the fray. Skipping into the gravel goes the 22 of Pedro Clero. It's been a really rough start here for the young Brazilian. And he's got his teammate Hiyu Yamakoshi all over his tail, also with Rashid El Dahiri for company. Still no words on a yellow flag or indeed a safety car just of yet. But as I say that, the safety car now gets brought out onto the circuit and the drama will come to rest already. But a great start from Matteo De Parlo. Everybody, what a phenomenal effort on their part. I can tell you that it was Newman Chi as well as Anea Frey, so the 2 new young drivers that have stepped up this weekend for CL Motorsport getting caught at turn 3 with Giovanni Maschio. Unfortunately, it may not have been a Trident car at all, actually, looking at it. I think we just caught perhaps a bit of an absence of the light there a little bit, because obviously it's blue and obviously orange on the CL Motorsport liveries. You can be forgiven when you see a little bit of blue. It does look a lot like a Trident car in many ways on the side pod. But as we now watch the cars now just slowly drifting past the tractor as now they look to lift the CL Motorsport cars from that on-track position. And as you can see, they're taking that escape road, just taking great caution. And the safety car, the Alpine safety car now out on the circuit, and Matteo De Parlo has caught up. Now, let's see what happened. Obviously, Nikita Bedrin, what a start, first and foremost. The Santalot car now inside the top 3. This was where it all came together. There was a wide moment for a Trident there, indeed. There's the moment. There's the CL Motorsport car initially. We've got a G4 racing car as well further back. I can only imagine that's Edouard Borgner. Or Sakura Maucheri, actually, who's now a new G4 racing driver. There is Maschio, so he taps the back of the number 12 of Anea Frey, and then further back then we have Zenrui Chi, who was obviously at the tail end of that and just got caught in behind Maschio's car. So very much CL Motorsport, 2 pieces of bread, with Giovanni Maschio being the filling in between. And that will see all 3 of those cars for now pitched out of the session. It looks like Maschio actually has got free from them anyway, so unless I'm not mistaken, he might be able to join the rest of the group in behind under the safety car. So obviously now, whilst we are under full course yellow conditions, the timer still continues to tick. So we've still got 26 minutes and 17 to go. Just looking elsewhere, Freddie Slater has in fact gained a mountainous number of places. Remember, started 18th on the grid, he's now P12, so he's gained 6 places at the very get-go. So points may not be out of the equation for the young Brit, but elsewhere at the moment, Ian Eichmann, still the highest rookie, ahead of Reno Francot. Those 2 are currently banded together. Also, Eichmann's obviously representing RPM, Reno Francot, who was, of course, his teammate at RPM. Francot obviously was under no illusion, said that despite, as now Jack Beaton comes in, hopefully not further problems for the man from the Gold Coast. And it looks like a front wing change is in the offing for Jack Beaton. So that's really unfortunate for the young man. Obviously, he must have got caught somewhere. It does condense very quickly coming up through towards turn 3. As we now watch them make their way around, still under the raised yellows. Akshay Bora quite happy just to wait in behind in second place. Didn't get the best of starts, but obviously managing to remain in second nonetheless, and will have another bite of the cherry, I'm sure, to tackle Matteo De Paolo. Nikita Bedrin, of course, in third, though. Great start for him, leaping off the line and really flying through the order, managing to nestle himself now on a podium place. For Nikita Bedrin, that, of course, would be a huge result for him. Sure, looking to add yet further numbers to his account, and has really represented the Santaloc team very well indeed. Of course, it has been a long season, plenty for the drivers to deal with. Of course, we had a very fiery start to our first race at Misano. Of course, Freddie Slater was caught up with that. If you remember, it was the Van Amersfoort car, I think, of Hugh Yamakoshi, who made contact with Slater at the start on that occasion. But, of course, later he recovered to go second at the end of all that. But it was Matteo De Paolo who took that first win at Misano, which later fueled further wins and podiums in his direction. Of course, in total, Matteo De Paolo with 6 podiums in his locker. But largely, over the course of the many outings we have had here at Red Bull Ring in the past, we have, of course, started coming here back in 2019, and Frederick Vesti, of course, back then went right through the weekend, taking poles throughout, but only winning 2 of the races. He, of course, won race 1 and race 2. Then it was later Igor Fraga, the young Brazilian who went on to win it for RP Motorsport. But Prema have had a storied history in the past. They dominated the first 2 occasions we ventured here in 2019 and 2020. Of course, after Vesti did the same, it was Gianluca Petikov then in 2020 who took pole in all 3 for all 3 of the races, and of course won the first race. But it was Oliver Rasmussen, his teammate, in race 2 in 2020, who would finish on top, with Petikov then winning the 3rd one. So it was a trio of Prema poles and victories that season. Of course, it was Franco Colapinto, though, of course, current Formula 1 driver for Alpine, who took pole twice in 2021 for MP Motorsport, and then took victory in race 1. But it was Gregoire Saucy, of course, eventual champion of the Formula Regional European Championship Alpine in 2021, who would win it with ART Grand Prix. And interesting to note, their only ever victory here at Red Bull Ring was granted by Gregoire Saucy on that race 2 occasion back in 2021. 2022, of course, we've seen Paul Aaron and Hadrian David take pole. Race winners, though, in the past. Kaz Havercourt for Van Amersfoort Racing, winning on the first occasion in 2022. Hadrian David for our race GP, who had a fantastic run with them, continues to race for our race as well, with Hugo Schwartz in Le Mans Prototypes. And in 2023, we then saw Rafael Camara, who is, of course, now champion in FIA Formula 3. Of course, he took victory with Prema back in 2023, and we're back underway now with green conditions. Matteo De Paolo kicking us off as they rise through turn 1. Akshay Bora still hot on his heels as they fly through the Niki Lauda curve. So as the safety car now comes in, it now comes back to green. Nikita Bedrin on the heels now of Akshay Bora as they fly up through to the apex of the corner. Quite a bit of movement as well further back. Here comes Bedrin up the inside now. They're going to try and take second place away from Akshay Bora, and he might have done it, I think, as we now pan the cameras across as the cars now swoop through down towards Slosh Gold, and Bedrin has taken it. Here comes Delaney as well. The 2-hour race now looking to swap. Of course, Bora, who remember, started on the front row, now coming toe-to-toe with his very own teammates. And by and large, it looks like it might well be Enzo Delaney who has taken it this time around as they swoop through towards Roshenberg curve, and it is. And in fact, it looks like Bora could come under further peril because he's got now Pedro Claro swarming all over his tail. A really poor return to full green action here for Akshay Bora, from second down to fourth in 2 sectors alone, as they return to racing speed again. And now Bedrin has got to give chase to Mathieu De Paulo. 0.7 of a second the gap between them, as now they fly down through the Red Bull Mobile curve. 20 minutes and 40 to go, plus the 1 lap. As they now cross the line, De Paulo still leads the way. There's Rashid Al-Dahiri, still in front of Evan Gilter as it stands with the 2 RPMs that continues with, of course, Reno Francot, a very wide Taito Kato coming in towards turn 1 there, really taking a lot of the entry curbing on the outside before coming through Niki Lauda curve, just looking to get as much of a pacey exit as possible. Then leading up through uphill. And Michael Belov also having a decent race here for CL Motorsport. Would love to bring them yet some points here at Red Bull Ring. He's also got Freddie Slater on his tail, who still remains in P12 after starting P18, and he's currently ahead of Dion Gouda as they now storm down through towards Slosh Gold once again. The intervals now starting to spread nicely. Of course, Yamakoshi 3/10 now away. A little wide moment there for the number 11 of Jin Nakamura, who was, again, Jin Nakamura, a phenomenal start. Do you remember, he was dead last after the issue in qualifying. He's now moved up to 17th in the classification. So a phenomenal drive here from Jin Nakamura, of course, who was taken under the wing of Kamui Kobayashi as part of the Toyota Racing School, and is really starting to flourish in this race, and it really takes a lot of spirit to try and, you know, rein that pace in and really try and stamp your authority on this grid. Of course, various numbers of these drivers looking to progress higher up the single-seater rostrum, with eyes surely on Formula 3 going through to next season, as Mathieu De Paulo now skips through turn 1 again. At the moment, as it stands, race win number 3 could well be on the cards, equaling the numbers set in place by Gabriele Mini and, of course, Tim Tramnitz, as they now send it up through towards turn 3 again this time. At the moment, still nose to tail, side by side as well further back. Of course, Jack Beaton watching all this unfold right now. Of course, Giovanni Maschio, Edouard Borgner. Of course, Maschio now rejoining full green light racing after his incident right at the start of the race. He's now cruised through towards turn 3 this time. And at the moment, it looks like Jaroslav Vasalo still remains in front of Maschio right now. And Alex Powell, in fact, I think it was Alex Powell watching Reno Francot. It was Francot and Kanato Lay who are going side by side. I do apologise, heading up through towards turn 3. And dare I say it, I don't think Francot was quite successful on that occasion, as they come down through towards the next left-hander this time around. Still with 18 minutes or so to go, plus the 1 lap. There's the 55 of Dion Gouda, still making his way around the circuit, chasing after Freddie Slater, who's now up into 11th, actually. Great move there for Slater. 1 away from P10 now. He's got to try and chase down Michael Belov, as they now storm through onto the next lap. 6 laps now completed, and now make that 7. As they move up through towards Niki Lauda curve once again. Obviously remaining in the wheel tracks, Rashid Al-Dahiri getting closer as now they start to fan out once more. The number 7 further down the order of Nandavid Biran-Bakti, also coming under fire from Jin Nakamura, who looks very racy indeed right now as they look to climb uphill. There is, of course, the 74 of Ian Eichmanns, who's trying to gain yet another place. He's on the tail of Evan Gilter, the young Frenchman, who has been so far apart without a win. His first and only win this season coming back at Misano in race 2. And it just hasn't been the season for him since then. The ART man trying to bring grandeur here to ART here at Red Bull Ring will be the first one since Gregoire Saucy back in 2021, as now Nikita Bedrin sets in place the fastest lap here this time, which certainly is a great bill of confidence there in his quest to try and close down on Matteo De Pallo. I will tell you though, Matteo De Pallo has just gone purple inside the middle sector, so trying to grow the gap once more against Bedrin, and indeed it has stabilised back to that 0.7 of a second gap that was held just after the safety car came in. As now Ian Eichmann flies downhill through towards the final corner at Red Bull Mobile Curve to start yet another lap. Lap 8 now in the bank. 16 minutes and so to go, as we are now back under green conditions, and still no changes up at the top end. Bedrin losing yet another 10th, and now more into the clutches of Enzo Dellini, race 1 winner back at Imola recently. Fastest lap taken now from Matteo De Pallo, counteracting the one that Nikita Bedrin set the lap prior. As now Jin Nakamura chasing after Taito Kato, in turn now chases after Dion Gouda as they stretch up through towards the apex of the corner at turn 3. Ian Eichmann still on the tail of Evan Gilter as well. Michael Belov, incidentally, nearly a whole second down on Eichmann's right now, which will only throw him into the path of Freddie Slater, who will have the benefits of ultimately the slipstream. Gilter has also lost lots of time to Rashid Al Dahiri, and now that makes him very vulnerable to the likes of Ian Eichmann's from RPM, as well, as they now fly through the left-hander coming through Rochenwerth, and now next up a trip down through Jochenrindt corner before they then take Red Bull Mobile Curve here this time, and yet again kicking up the gravel. The drivers flirting with the thresholds of danger here at Red Bull Ring. Fast and furious this circuit certainly is. The shortest you'll see on the calendar, 10 turns in total. That is it on this 2.688 mile track that has since been slightly extended. As you can see from the slightly painted lines you can just see on the inside of the curb, they've gone for a slightly wider track with the changes they have made to the final corner at turn 10, which if anything should give the drivers a little bit more leverage flying down the long straight through towards turn 1. As now Matteo De Pallo rises up through turn 2. There's Clero trying to make a hard charge here this time on Akshay Bora, who, remember, lost those 2 places. He was in second for a good deal of time, but it got undone just after the safety car came in, and it opened the door for Nikita Bedrin and Enzo Dellini, his own teammates, to try and make a hard charge on Matteo De Pallo, but still De Pallo holding all the cards. Nikita Bedrin with the fastest lap over the last lap, taking it back away from Matteo De Pallo. He's brought the gap back to 0.7 of a second. Remember, it was 8 before that. So Bedrin really starting to put the work in here. And he was faster again than Matteo De Pallo, 21.9 in that first sector. Though I will say Dellini put in a personal best and was faster than Bedrin. So it's very much now a 3-car battle for the front spot this time. They're starting to disconnect from Akshay Bora, who's now at the mercy of Pedro Clero. The gap 1.4 now between Akshay Bora and the 3 in front. As then they fly down through towards the final corner again. Rashid Al Dahiri 1.1 back from Yamakoshi this time. Jin Nakamura still locked in 13th place. Got to say credit to Jin Nakamura. This has been an astonishing drive from the young man from the very back of the grid. Now up into 13th place. I mean, you're talking an approximate gain of 15 places through this race from Nakamura. Definitely worthy of the Pirelli Rising Car Award, should that come around. Of course, Enzo, yeah, the most recent winner of that. Of course, not here this weekend. More like Enzo No. Obviously, a no-show, I should say, for this weekend. Hence why we have Reno Francott driving for RPM this weekend. So they come through out of turn 3 and down through towards Slosh Gold this time. 7.10 still the gap between Bedrin and De Pallo, as now here comes Dion Gouda trying to chase after the number 11 of Jin Nakamura. And it looks like Dion Gouda, incidentally, has actually lost a place on Nakamura, so that moves Nakamura into 12th now. As I'm looking at it on our screens, folks, we'll get an update on that. Well, might be... We'll get an update as they come through, but... yeah, that's confirmed the switch. P12 now in Nakamura's hands. And just skipping over the curb. You just see how aggressive he is pointing that car. And now chasing after Freddie Slater. There is definitely some immense pace behind Jin Nakamura here in race 1. Of course, our Race GP not celebrating a win here since Hadrian David back in 2022 in race 2. But it's going to be a real stiff charge for Nakamura to do this right now with 11 minutes and 38 to go, but never say never. Anything can surely happen, and it usually does where it comes to motorsport. Dion Goud is still chasing after Nakamura to try and get his place back. Of course, Nakamura's got to try and close the gap, essentially. There is Akshay Bora with Clero for company. So RAce GP being hassled by Van Amersfoort on 2 counts at the moment, with Bora being certainly challenged by Pedro Clero, and this time we also have Dion Gauda chasing after Nakamura also. This is the battle, though, for P4 as we're looking at it. Yamakoshi also part of the Van Amersfoort contingent. Just watching and observing his teammates as they come through Roshenwerth curve again. Of course, it was a breakthrough weekend at Imola, as I mentioned, back at Imola last time out. That was at the start of August, just before we headed on to summer break. Gifting Akshay Bora his first win, and the first Indian driver, of course, to win at Imola in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Of course, we saw his brother Nikhil racing in this series for Trident not too long ago. Of course, he was teammates with Roman Belinsky, the young Polish driver who has now since gone on to race in Formula 3, and surely onwards as well, as he looks to move his way through the single-seater rostrum as they now look to climb uphill once again. The battle for P1 still alive and well, or it was anyway. Bedrin now since gapped to a whole second, but I think he's trying to bring that back in. It has come into 9 tenths, as now up the inside. Pedro Clero moves ahead of Akshay Bora now for 4th, and a great move, certainly by the young Brazilian, but now this will hand the slipstream to Akshay Bora. Does he have enough to lend a challenge coming down into Slosh Gold? He'll need a golden move here, that's for sure, as he looks around the outside here. A slight lock-up on the front right-hand side, and that opens the door for Clero to continue through and maintain his place in P4. Lovely move from the Brazilian, and managed to solidify the place coming into the apex of turn 4. And now his teammate, smelling blood, Hiyu Yamakoshi, chasing after 5th place here, and potentially adding yet another Van Amersfoort into the top 5. Big points here in the Teams Championship, of course. Van Amersfoort looking to get a little bit closer. They had a fantastic weekend at their home race at Zandvoort. Clero was the star of the show, essentially, taking pole in both qualifying sessions, and then at the same time finishing 2nd in race 1 with a win in race 2. Was then 2nd as well at Hungaroring, incidentally, too. It was a fantastic run for Clero. And now 1 step away from the podium again, but he has got to try and find 2.4 seconds on Enzo Dellini, which is easier said than done. In fact, Dellini looks more like the aggressor at the moment, but Bedrin's going to have his wits about him on the run down through towards Slosh Gold. Remember, of course, they have the push-to-pass system that they can apply for 10 seconds. They get 5 uses of it, as now at the inside comes Jin Nakamura, again looking to try and lift himself inside the top 10. This has been absolutely sensational from Jin Nakamura, starting from the very back of the grid after the issue in qualifying, and now up the inside now on Michael Belov, will move inside the top 10. Brilliant performance here from Jin Nakamura. Obviously a little gap now presents itself to Ian Eichmann's at 1.5 seconds that Belov held previously, but Nakamura inside the top 10 after starting from the very back of the grid. A sterling performance, surely worthy of the Pirelli Rising Car Award. Of course, we still have a race coming up tomorrow. I mentioned that earlier on in this broadcast, but still, doesn't get much better than that for Jin Nakamura. I'm sure there's going to be all smiles there on the face of the RSGP team. Of course, they do want to obtain victories. That is obviously the essential matter. Is a little wide moment there for the 55 of Dion Gauda as he gives chase after Freddie Slater, who still sits in 12th place. Slater, though, slightly disconnected from the car in front, 1.5 seconds to Michael Belov right now. But one has to wonder whether Belov might be feeling rather frail. It certainly felt that Jin Nakamura had a lot more pace under his belt against the CL Motorsport car. So whether Freddie Slater can expose the same weakness, we'll have to wait and see. Taito Carter also on the end of this trio. And then we have the 2 Trident cards of Nandavad Bir and Bhakti and Ruiki Liu down in 16th place. As we now watch the top three make their way through Slosh Gold. DeParlo, Bedrin, Delaney. That's your top three. Bedrin well behind DeParlo now, really, when you think about it. 1 second back. And the slipstream is going to favour Enzo Delaney more as they continue around the Styrian Mountain circuit, home of the Austrian Grand Prix, of course. It's always special when we come to Red Bull Ring. It was initially opened back in 1969 on the 26th of July, then later closed in 2004, but much to everyone's delight, reopened on the 15th of May 2011. We've never looked back. Always a special weekend here at Spielberg. Slightly wide there from the car of Enzo Delaney. They come across the line with 6 minutes and 1 lap to go. 3 cars in control of the front 3 places with a gap of 2.6 seconds to Pedro Clero, who has now gapped Akshay Bora by 1.2, and Yamakoshi might be able to get a move done here, as he's 3/10 behind Bora at the moment, and all it takes is a good run up through towards turn 3. And it could yet come his way. Evan Giltek continuing to lose time to Rashid Al-Dahiri. So it's now 1.8 seconds now, and Ian Eichmann still very much on the tail of Evan Giltek, and I'm sure looking to try and lift RPM further. Nakamura, can I just say, is already well within a second on Eichmann's right now. 0.6 of a second. This isn't over for Nakamura at the moment. There could be a P8 here on the cards if he can get past Eichmann's, and Gilter continues to drop time to Rashid Al-Dahiri. It throws a massive opportunity here for Nakamura to gain some points that he probably didn't even think was possible, but now it almost certainly is. You can do a lot in 5 minutes, and obviously with the additional lap, there's plenty for Nakamura to obtain. As we now watch Mathieu DeParlo flying down through the Jochenring corner, with Bedrin still locked at a second behind, with Delaney 3/10 in behind him. Surely Delaney, he could yet leave it late. A little twitch there from the rear end of the car as they fly through down the long straight to begin yet another lap. We've concluded 16 now through the course of this race. As they now skip through turn 1, mounting that curb. A little bit of rotation there from Nikita Bedrin, but no harm, no foul. As they now look to climb uphill and take the little kink in the course at turn 2 before hitting turn 3 at Remus. Further back, you can see Rashid Al-Dahiri chasing after Hiyu Yamakoshi. Here comes Jin Nakamura as well, looking to try and gain another place. And surely he's going to try and flex his muscles on the run up towards Remus Bend. Nakamura after Ian Eichmann's looking to take down the RPM car. Is he going to prevail? Coming through turn 3, he certainly is. Jin Nakamura, we didn't see it live happen, but as they came over the crest, Nakamura in front of Ian Eichmann's, and now sits in P9, chasing after Evan Gilter. A Phoenix drive here from Jin Nakamura after the hardships in qualifying, and he continues to knock at that wood. With Gilter, his next nemesis, a second between them, as they come through the middle sector and into sector 3 proper. 3 minutes and 30 to go, and it's DeParlo who now stretches his advantage to 1.1 seconds, and more so now Bedrin on the front end of Enzo Delaney. 3/10 between them now as they come through the Red Bull Mobile curve before commencing yet another lap. Opening up the throttle. Once again, they'll visit Niki Lauda curb as they look to just squeeze the brake and then punch the throttle once again before then flying uphill. Delaney hot on the heels, half a second between him and Bedrin. The P2 battle surely still alive and kicking as they now move uphill this time. And a few puffs coming off the back of that Santalot racing car as well, and you can just see there, defensive from Nikita Bedrin. He knows that Delaney's coming. He's hovering all over the Santalot rear wing right now, and he might even get to do it here at Slosh Gold. Delaney, very keen to make moves. He's done many already in his time this season. Of course, part of the Red Bull Junior team last campaign. Things didn't go so well back then, but now as an independent, working with RSGP once again, having a look around the outside, but denied by Bedrin. He's going to look around the outside again this time before hurtling through towards Rochenwerth curve, try and carry the speed around the outside, but Bedrin always is going to be better with that inside tiger line to defend the place. Great effort from the Santalot driver, as now once again Delaney has another look. Just sending warning shots aplenty to Bedrin in second right now, and this only grows the gap between DeParlo and Bedrin up at the very top. All the Italian has to do at the front is maintain his pace After 17 laps concluded, he'll make that 18 as he crosses the line. And with 1 minute and 50 to go, plus the 1 lap, they will continue onwards here at Styria. Bedrin, who has done a great job of trying to marshal off this encroachment of Enzo Dellini, who has a little look down the inside now, coming in towards turn 1. They're now going to lift uphill again, and Bedrin surely is going to have to stick a wall of defence up. He has to try, well, certainly the unimaginable in order to keep this P2 in the palm of his hands. Flying all over his rear comes Enzo Dellini again. Will he go late on the brakes? He switches to the inside very late in the day. Very nearly collects Bedrin, and they both go wide. That could have ended in tears as they rejoin the circuit. Bedrin still remains ahead of Dellini, but now the Frenchman is on a hard charge and trying to coast by the very experienced Nikita Bedrin. A little switcheroo as now Bedrin once again moves. Certainly no movement under braking. Bedrin very keen to ensure that this R-Race GP car continues to observe from behind, as opposed to him seeing that rear wing in front of him instead. They fly through towards Rochenberth curve. Bedrin somehow, some way, clinching onto this P2 position. And Dellini's got to try something very different if he wants to try and masterclass his way to a P2 again this time. Of course, Dellini looking for his 6th podium of the season. He's managed to recruit 5 so far. As it stands, he will grab number 6, but he would much prefer the points boon for 2nd place. Remember, 18 points paid out for finishing in P2, 15 if you finish in P3. As they now cross the line again, and De Paulo is only gaining more and more time. 2.8 now, the gap has grown already, simply because Bedrin has been so focused on defending this approach from Dellini, and all this inviting Pedro Clearo back into the fray as well. He's only down by 1.3 seconds now, Pedro Clearo. He's closing the gap. Nakamura, I also want to say as well, has passed Evan Gilter for 8th place. So Nakamura again, like we said before, he had opportunity, not just to pass Eichmann and Gilter. Well, he's just gone and done it. And he now sits in 8th place, chasing after Rashid Al-Dahiri this time, and is only 1.4 away from him as well. But the timer has now ticked to 0. We will have 1 additional lap to take before we hit the checkered flag. And De Paulo leads as they come through Slosh Goal. Bedrin in 2nd, Dellini in 3rd. It's looking good for win number 3. A trio of victories for Matteo De Paulo, which I'm sure will smile team principal of Trident, Maurizio Salvadori. And Luca Zabini, of course, team manager for Trident, here in the garage this weekend as always. Of course, he leads the team here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and I'm sure he's going to have a big beaming smile on his face where this very talented young Italian will cross the line. But first and foremost, 1 final lap is to be taken, as now De Paulo looks to climb through towards Niki Lauda curb and then run up through towards turn 3. Now, if Dellini wants 2nd place, it's now or never. Surely. Further back as well, the number 6 of Hiyu Yamakoshi, still on the back of Akshay Bora. Points to be won and lost in 2 areas here for R-Race GP. We'll see if they can hold it together, as now once again Bedrin goes ultra defensive up through towards turn 3. If Dellini wants to get this move done, he knows he has to do it at Slosh Gold at turn 4. Bedrin is going to have his wits about him. He knows how quick Dellini is. They fly at the top of the hill and now look to come down the Styrian mountain this time. They're going to go side by side, and Dellini is going to try him around the outside through towards turn 4. Will it be a golden move at Slosh Gold this time for him? He tries the switchback, looking for the exit speed. Can he find it? Dellini can't. It's still Bedrin in control. He's going to try and take a wide line and counter speed around the outside instead, coming through Rochenberth curve. Dellini unable to do so. He has to hold station in 3rd. Bedrin somehow managing to keep this relentless young Frenchman in behind, but has done it absolutely brilliantly as they fly through the final sector. Matteo De Paulo, though, for Trident, 2nd in the championship. This will almost certainly put him to the top of the championship here at the close of race 1 here at Red Bull Ring. There's only one man who's going to lift the winning trophy aloft, and it's Matteo De Paulo, for a 3rd time this season, a victor in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Yet another one going to Luca Zabini's team here this time, and igniting up Red Bull Ring with their first win at this track. Of course, they're experiencing that a lot this season, being the very fact that they won their first race in the championship back at Misano. But this is a run I'm sure they will like. Pedro Clearo in 4th. ahead of Akshay Bora, Hiyu Yamakoshi in 6th, Rashid Al-Dahiri in 7th, Jin Nakamura. Can I just say, what a drive, what a performance. Started from the rear of the field and fought his way up 20 places to move up into P8. A phenomenal performance from him. And further back then, Evan Giltaire with Ian Eichmanns, who could not quite get past the young Frenchman. He was 6/10 across the line recorded, with Michael Belov finishing 11th. Freddie Slater managing to move up to 12th place as well. Ian Eichmanns, though, rookie win here this time around, beating Dion Gowda, who finished 13th behind Slater. Taito Kato 14th, Nandavad Biram-Bakti 15th. Reno Francot, who was right in the thick of the action as well through the course of this race, finishing ahead of Ruiki Liu, Kanato Lei, Edu Robinson, Alex Powell in his first start as a wildcard rookie, coming in, finishing in 20th spot. Obviously, a lot of learnings to be taken this weekend for young Alex Powell, the Mercedes driver. Giovanni Maschio behind him too, with Jack Beaton finishing in 22nd. In fact, Jack Beaton actually progressed up to what looks to be, it might be the transmitter perhaps making a slight error. Jack Beaton now returned to 23rd. Sakir Al-Maushari in 24th. Yaroslav Vasalo 25th. Edouard Borgner in 26th, as we're seeing it on track at the moment. And Nea Freyin, obviously, Zen Ricci, unfortunately not finishing for CL Motorsport in their first weekend. A little reminder now of the results. Matteo De Paulo, 3rd time a race winner this season for Trident, finishing ahead of Nikita Bedrin, who defended masterfully against Enzo Dellini, who finished in 3rd. Pedro Claro, 4th. Akshay Bora in 5th. Hiyu Yamakoshi, 6th. Rashid Al-Dahiri in 7th. Jin Nakamura, what a drive, P8. Evan Giltaire in 9th. Ian Eichmanns, 10th, ahead of Michael Belov, Freddie Slater, Dion Gowda, Taito Kato, and Nandavad Biram-Bakti down in 15th place. Fastest lap also taken by Jin Nakamura of a 1:26.541. Reno Francot, 16th in his first start, ahead of Ruiki Liu and Kanato Lei. Edu Robinson, 19th place, ahead of Giovanni Maschio. Tim Gerhards in 21st. Good performance from Giovanni Maschio after the crash as well at the top of the hill. Alex Powell in 22nd place, ahead of Jack Beaton, his teammate. Sakir Al-Maushari in G4 for the first time, 24th, ahead of Yaroslav Vasalo, Edouard Borgner, and Nea Frey. And Zen Ricci obviously didn't finish at the very back of the field. But it's victory for Matteo De Paulo. What a performance. And celebrating, I'm sure, off the back of an astonishing race. Championship lead now in the palm of his hand. Remember, they came into this, of course, 16 points apart. It was 170 points in the palm of Matteo De Paulo's hand. But that win taken lights to flag after the pole position that he managed to achieve this morning. And it'll taste all the sweeter, I am sure. But I'm sure very quickly you'll look ahead to tomorrow's qualifying session and indeed the race. But there's Enzo Dellini. A decent performance on his part too. Obviously managing to beat his teammate Akshay Bora, getting the move done just after the safety car came in. And it meant another podium for him as well. Remember, he is still also very much in the championship fight. Arrived in actually 3rd in the championship. But that win putting Matteo De Paulo now on 195. That's 5 away, obviously, for breaking the 200 points total. And of course, with that 3rd win, we mentioned this before, it now places him level with the likes of 2 other drivers, obviously Gabriele Mini and Tim Tran. It's a little reminder of what happened during the race, so it was a great start for Matteo De Paulo. Not such a great start, though, for Akshay Bora. He was immediately challenged by Pedro Claro, ran out wide at turn 1. This opened the door for Nikita Bedrin to then move through up the inside and take P3 away. There was a crash, though, as we all witnessed earlier on. 2 CL Motorsport cars collecting Giovanni Maschio, and of course we did see Edouard Borgner, or Sakir Al-Maushari, I should say, just getting caught in behind them as well. As they came through the middle sector once more, we saw yet more challenges furthermore. A very late move there from Enzo Dellini, very nearly paying both drivers the price. Nikita Bedrin running out wide and managing to rejoin, still ahead of Dellini, who continued to challenge him. But it was a phenomenal performance from this man. The man in the number 8 Trident, Matteo De Paulo, notching together his 3rd win of the campaign. And will now take the lead at the top of the championship in great style. A wonderful performance for the team. And now we move to the podium for the celebrations now to be observed. And of course, we'll hear the national anthems as well. And it will be an Italian national anthem. On the same weekend, we have, of course, the Italian Grand Prix ongoing at Monza as well. And obviously a special win this as well. I mean, Trident obviously winning the F3 championship with Rafael Camara. And definitely turned themselves into quite the force in junior single-seaters over recent years, certainly recent times. And we've seen bits of progression in this championship alone in Formula Regional, from pole positions from the likes of Roman Belinsky, for example. Obviously, you know, with Matteo De Palio, he's taken it to new heights now as a whole, and 2 pole positions now recorded as of this morning. And now on top of that, 7 podiums with 3 victories this time. And I mentioned, obviously, the records. Obviously, Gabriele Mini also on 3 wins. Tim Tramnitz, who won in F3 this morning, also on 3 wins. He now levels, does Matteo De Palio, with those 2. And if he wins tomorrow, he could yet join the likes of Dino Beganovic, Kaz Havercourt, and James Wharton, Tuka Tappanen, who have all taken 4 wins in this series. So Enzo Dellini will stand tall, 3rd for our Race GP. That's his 6th podium in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Nikita Bedrin with a fantastic drive, finishing in 2nd after a sterling defence against Enzo Dellini. And Trident sending a representative up to claim the team's trophy. Luca Zabini, I'm sure, is absolutely thrilled. Ian Eichmann stepping up as a rookie race winner here at Styria. And the trophies are presented, first and foremost, the 3rd place trophy to Enzo Dellini, who, like I said, didn't have his best season last year. He then left the Red Bull Junior team. Now as an independent, obviously still driving for our Race GP, has really hit quite the run of form this season. Obviously had his disappointing spells back at Budapest, where tempers unfurled on his part after the electronic issues he had. 2nd place for Nikita Bedrin, of course, but winner Matteo De Palio for the 3rd time. More going Trident's way, and they will celebrate with a team's trophy at the same time. Fantastic stuff. And RPM can celebrate for Ian Eichmann's winning rookie. See, Dion Gauda has been very much the dominant force in that side of the championship this season. Here comes the Italian national anthem. So there we have it. Always a favourite to any motorsport fan here in the Italian national anthem this time. And of course, a group photo will be observed as well by all drivers on the podium, as well as the team representative from Trident as well. These drivers will be hoping that more will be in store for them tomorrow, of course, when we go racing once again for race 2 here at Red Bull Ring. But of course, we've got qualifying first thing in the morning as well to observe. But plenty of points to be won and lost in what can only be described as a very fragile point of the series as we look to end the campaign with rounds still to come. But more racing to bring you tomorrow, folks. But from all of us here at Styria, it is goodbye.